the server installation for your department's ARMS client. So this is pretty much just the standard process for the ARMS mobile and thick client on the server. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and begin the webinar for IT server installation. So before the installation day, whenever we schedule that up for you, we recommend a minimum of 2 hours of downtime for your department. So for that, we usually just tell users to get their department and just 2 hours minimum downtime. And then we'll review the install requirement documentation. So we'll send that over to your department. That way you can put this in place beforehand. And then you'll want to log into the server as a service account. And that is going to be usually just a local admin account. And it's best to already log in. Typically, the support agent working on that will ask for this. And then you'll want to take a backup of the active database that you'll be working on. So if it's a test environment, you'll take a backup of the test database. If it's production, you'll take a backup of that. Now for the ARMS install setup, we'll transfer the client files to the server. And then once those files are transferred over, we'll place the installer on the root of the C drive, or usually any other drive that's allocated for the space that your department has. Most of the time it's on the root of the C, and this just makes it to where the installer runs without any behaviors. It's best to put it there. After that, we will go ahead and install the prerequisites. Usually that is in the install upgrade package. And you'll run through those, make sure they're installed if they haven't been installed already. And then if it's a new server, you'll create the install folders for this. And if it's the server already has ARMS on there, you'll just make sure everything is in the right place. So for the thick client installation, which is the desktop client, you'll want to run the client ARMS installer.exe as admin. So you can just right click on that and run as admin. And then once the installer starts up, you'll see the image at the bottom. So you'll want to select that ARMS file path, which is usually programs file end-to-end ARMS v2 r3. This default path is what it is in this text box if you haven't had the client installed before. But you can change that depending on your department. And you can see down here, there's an example for end-to-end. You can just change that if you've already had it installed. So for the next screen, there's license information. And this is defaulted in if you have had the client installed. If not, you can go to SQL and you can run the script here below. And this will give, will generate the key and the company name. If you've purchased new features, ARMS support will generate a new key for you. So we can just request that, and usually the support agent working will get that created for you. And once that's in there, you just click next and you'll go to the next screen, and this is the server and client information. So at the top of this page, there is the database information, and this is pretty much, you'll put in the database server name and then the database name. So you just want to confirm that. And if you're logged in as a service account with admin permissions, typically you'll want to use Windows Authentication because it's simpler, makes sure pretty much easier. And if you're using SQL Authentication, you'll have to type in the user ID and password for that. But if you're using Windows Authentication, you won't have to type in a password or the username right here because you're already logged in as that account. So when you finish that, you'll go down to server information, and these ports are already listed in the requirement documentation that you reviewed at the very beginning. So just kind of confirm that those are open and listed in those text boxes, and then you want to verify your server name. And once that is done, if your department is using AD authentication, you can toggle that on, yes or no. But if you aren't for sure, you can always turn that on afterwards. And then you will want to confirm your media folder path. And this can change if you're moving from server to server. You'll want to copy media over, or just make sure that's pulling from the right path. All right, and then once that is confirmed, you'll want to scroll down, and there is the run service as and the publish information. So for run service as, this is the service account that you're logged in as. And so you can either search for it or type it in, and then you'll just make sure those credentials are right, and then you'll move down to publish information. For publish location, there's two different options. There's web deployment and the drag down method. For web deployment, you'll have a IIS web application, application pool for the client folder, and we can help create that or give direction on how to create that for you. So you'll type that in, as you can see here for this example. It is the client web deployment, and then the deployment URL is based on your IIS URL. So if you have a certificate, you can have HTTPS. If not, it's just HTTP. And then once that's keyed in and verified that it's matching up with your IIS, then you'll want to go down here and put in the certificate for ARMS. And you can it's best to just go ahead and click on the ellipses and search for it in your admin folder. And typically the ARMS support agent will put that in there for you and type in the password. And the support agent does provide that password, so we can always ask for that. But yeah, that is the information needed on this screen. And then you just click next and go to the next page. For this screen shown here, it's the database update details. So pretty much you want to keep it all Windows authentication if you're logged in as that service account and you are a local admin. That way you don't have to type in any username or password. But if you were SQL authentication, you'll browse the account and type in the password. Since you took a backup at the very beginning of this process, you'll skip the database backup at this time, and then you'll click next towards the bottom. And if it's a production server, you'll want to toggle on telemetry on the server. If it's a test server, you'll just keep it toggled off, and that'll pretty much just show all error logs and whatnot. So once that's enabled, you just click next as well, and then the install will begin. And this pretty much just shows the ARM scripts will run, make sure everything's being installed, and then this screen can kind of confuse some people, but it's pretty much just saying that the error logs are working, and you just click OK, and it continues to install. But don't be alarmed by this. It's nothing harmful. But yeah, once it's finished installing, you'll get a successful screen, and then you'll want to restart your services. And to restart your services, you'll go to the search bar in Windows Desktop, and you'll just type in services, and then you'll want to look for this ARMS v3 service and arms.remoting.server. And these will be running as the service account, so you can notice that whenever you're looking at that. But you'll want to restart the services, starting with ARMS v3 service and then arms.remoting.server. So stop that one, and then you'll stop remoting server, and then to start them back up, you'll click start on arms.remoting.server and then start on ARMS v3 service. And once that is done, you should be able to go ahead and log into your client and then begin the mobile installation. So for that mobile installation, you'll want to install the mobile prereqs. And typically, you can do this at the beginning, or you can do it after you install the client. But it's really just these two. And there is a new version that installs .NET 3 that's provided, and you won't have to worry about that. For mobile, there is also a few scripts that will need to be ran against the database, and the ARMS support agent will typically do this for you. But if not, you'll run the ARMS v3 create update script first, and then ARMS v3 reporting that create update script second, and then notification manager third. If there's any errors, we'll assist with that. But after that is ran, you can begin the installation. And what the mobile installation screen starts up with this, and this screen shows what features you have purchased and what you can select. So if you have all the mobile features, you can click on each checkbox, and that's what is being installed. If not, you just unselect these and click next. So if you don't want Notification Manager, you'll deselect it and then click next, and the Notification Manager won't be installed. But that's based on department as well. And if you would like more, you can notify us and we'll help you out. So for the database server screen, here you'll select your database server. So for this example, it's test, and that's matching up with the thick client install. So like I said earlier, you'll want to use Windows Authentication. That way you don't have to type in a username and password. And you'll want to toggle on this specify SQL Server admin account. That way you can create that connection to the database server. And just be sure to verify credentials, make sure everything's correct. Typically, if you get that green check mark, everything should be good. All right, and the next screen is ARM's database options. So you'll have your test server and then your database name, which is ARM's UMv3, and that's the actual database within SQL. So you'll choose that. There's a drop-down box that you can select from however many you have. And once again, you'll use that Windows authentication. That way you don't have to type any credentials. But if you are, you can use an existing SQL Server authentication account. And the next page, after you verify the database credentials and server, there is the ARM's common settings. This is where you'll run the services run the application pools as the service account and type in Active Directory domain. So at the top, you have your default website, and we recommend just leaving it as that because that is what IIS uses on the server. And then you'll want to verify your application pool ARM's service account credentials and then type in any Active Directory domain that you have. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Just you have to confirm everything is correct. And like I said earlier, if you aren't for sure for Active Directory, we can always come back and enable that later. All right, and once you do that, you click Next, and there's the ARM's application pool settings. This can be a little tricky, but it's not too bad. So the first one's ARM's Identity Service, and these application pools are what we're installing. So there's Identity Service, Report Center, Notification Manager, Mobile. So this is pulling from your IIS folder path, and you'll want to create a folder and an application pool for each one. So for application pool Identity Service, you'll create new and make it IIS for Identity Service. And then once that is done, you'll confirm that it's Identity Service down here in the IIS virtual directory. And then for the URL, you'll type in your server name or the domain URL that you're using from IIS. Make sure that the end of the URL is this virtual directory name. It has to be exactly the same right here. So Identity Service, Identity Service. And then once you confirm that, you can click Next and then proceed to Report Center. Do it the same way, make sure all those application pools are there. And this ARM support agent will confirm that with you when they're running the installation. All right, and that's pretty much it for the server installation. After mobile is installed, you'll want to run an IIS reset on the server. So to do that, you can go to the search menu, open up command prompt, and then run that as admin, and then perform an IIS reset, and then everything should be functional. And the support agent will assist with testing all of that out. But now we'd like to open it up for questions if anybody has any questions.
I think I saw there was a question in the chat.
Okay, let me find that real quick. And here, I've actually already got the chat open, so I can help out with those. So Jay Garcia 2 asked, does ARMS have an option for end user two-factor authentication with AD? For that question, we do have some options for two-factor authentication, and I would probably say if anyone has any questions for the two-factor authentication, we can just send us an email to support@arms.com, and we can send out information to you guys more about that. Jason, do you have anything to add for two-factor authentication? I don't think there's much to.
I mean, the basic answer to the question is yes. So we do have the ability to interface with an identity provider for two-factor authentication. ARMS does come defaulted with the ability to integrate with AD. So, you know, if you want to use AD authentication, which wouldn't necessarily be two-factor out the box, but you can integrate with your AD for your user accounts as well. But yeah, the answer is yes. So just contact our support. We'll be happy to walk you through how to get everything set up for that.
All right. And then I see another one from Chris Larrabee. He said, is mobile an extra charge to our account? Kind of the same thing. We'll have to check your actual department, and we'll send you an email after this, Chris, with an update. If anyone else has a question about their department and if they have mobile or if they would need to purchase it or something else, you can do the same thing. Contact support@arms.com, and we can check your account and send that to you.
We do actually package mobile in a lot of different ways as well. So even if your department doesn't currently use mobile or have mobile, I know, and I'm not sales, I'm mostly just support, but we do package that with our NIBRS software. So if your department's thinking about moving to NIBRS, you know, mobile would be an added benefit of that. Same thing with moving to cloud hosting for your server. So if you look at all this and go, you know, I don't want to manage my own server anymore, let me make end-to-end, handle that in the cloud, we'll be happy to handle that for you. And then, like I said, you'll get mobile along with that anyway. So basically what Devin said, plus you may want to look at some other options as well, because you can usually get mobile along with that too.
Oh, and it looks like we just got another one in the chat. So from Ryan Doyle, we got, to confirm, are we permitted to set up a secondary installation of ARMS for testing only purposes / training? We have a need for CAD training.
Yes and no. So that is a question we get a lot. You know, are you able to set up your own ARMS server somewhere? We have plenty of customers that do have test servers. Now, as far as you know, is it allowed? Sure. You know, we have customers that have test servers that they use to test backups or test new versions and things like that. That's all well and good. Now, when it comes to the bigger question is, you know, what level of support are you expecting for a non-production test server? What we see in general is that most of these test servers don't actually get the same attention that production servers do, especially training servers, in all honesty. Training servers get hit once or twice a year, and of course, every time you try to spin that server up, it's behind on updates, it's behind on ARMS version, and everything else that kind of comes along with that. So yeah, that being the long answer, the short answer is yes, you can set up a backup ARMS server. We have some that just clone their servers to do that, but you will not get the same level of support for that server unless you contract that support through us for that backup server, test server, training server. And then that kind of goes into, once again, contact our team. We'll be happy to send you a quote for what support for a backup server, training server, whatever you want to call it, would look like.
All right. And then just to go out with what Josh showed at the beginning, if you do have any questions
for raising your hand. You can go down, move your mouse on the screen that he is sharing, and then go down to the bottom, click on participants, and then a sidebar will pop up on the side. And there you should see a button that says raise hand. So if you click on that, then we'll know you have a question to ask. All right, going once, going twice. It looks like there aren't any other questions. So Josh, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you and you can wrap things up.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Yeah, so we do appreciate you joining our webinar. And if you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out and ask us. We can email in at support@arms.com or call us. We'll help you out. But if you don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and end the call. But thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your time.